Welcome, Jamie. Very stressed out. Whereabouts are you in Scotland?
I'm in Edinburgh at the moment. Yeah, we had quite an interesting warm up to this, but we made it. We've made the technology work, so we can't complain.
This is the thing. Every time we do this, we grow a little bit more resilient because it doesn't matter as long as we're here. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
And yeah, I came on to my computer tonight and I moved away. So I got it all ready. I moved away. And when I came back, the whole thing had gone off. I was like, where's it gone? It's all turned itself off. And it was doing a Windows update. And I was like, oh, you have to be joking. Well, that wasn't exactly what I thought. It was a little bit more blue. And I was like, okay, breathe, Lesley, but it'll be okay. And we're here. So welcome, everyone. We are live streaming onto Facebook, into our Facebook group and onto Facebook itself. So welcome everyone who's watching us over on Facebook, and welcome everyone who's actually watching us live here tonight. If you would like to ask questions, please try and put them in the ask a question area at the bottom of the screen. If you can see the bottom of the screen, if you can't see the bottom of the screen, obviously put them in the sidebar and we'll try and watch out and answer your questions. If you're watching us over on the live stream, then I'll pop over there afterwards and have a look and see what questions you've got, and if we can answer them, we obviously can. This will be uploaded onto YouTube, so you may be watching us on catch up. Love that. Watching us on catch up later. If you're watching us on catch up on YouTube, then please pop your questions or any comments in the comment bar, and we'll obviously keep an eye on that as well. If you're watching us on Facebook and on here and you are not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe. I think that's the housekeeping done. Anyone you'd like to shout out to, Jamie, before we start?
Well, I hope my wonderful editor, Elliot Mitchell, who edits my podcast, one of my best mates, I hope he's watching. I don't know if he is. He said he might pop along, so we'll see.
Okay.
There you go. That's my shout out for the start.
That's your shout out. At the bottom here, anyone who's watching us on Crowdcast, you'll see it says Just Get a Real Job podcast. So if you click on that button, it will take you through to Apple and you'll be able to see Jamie's podcast there. And when we sorted out this interview, you were on number 60. You must be on number 63 or 4 now.
63 this week. Yeah, we had a couple of weeks off after Christmas and New Year, and we just came back yesterday for the first episode of 2022, and it's with someone who is a creative director of a circus, so it's quite an exciting episode. It's a bit different. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you're our first live after Christmas as well. Yeah, we all needed a bit of a break, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. It was nice to switch off for a bit and come back fresh.
Yeah, it's good to switch off. And, you know, we're going third year into hopefully the end of the pandemic. What are they calling it now? An endemic.
Nearly in the endemic, yeah.
An endemic. So we needed to have a bit of a break and a bit of a, kick back and relax. It was good. It was good to have time off over Christmas. But now we're back and there's lots of creatives out there who need help to like kickstart their careers and get themselves on track. So I met you through the wonderful Graham Cullis.
Yeah, great guy.
And you've interviewed Graham a couple of times on your podcast, and I've listened to them, and he's great fun. And I was really charmed by what the way you deliver your podcast and everything. So I really wanted you to come on and just tell us really what made you start a podcast. Tell us a bit about the background.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Lesley. And Graham was a great guest, someone who I met through doing the podcast. And I've never actually met in real life, but, have made a friendship out almost with. Yeah, we speak quite regularly and very supportive of each other. So I guess a massive shout out to Graham. But the podcast was, it's actually a bit crazy. I still pinch myself when I think about it and I look at it, I see number 63. I'm like, 63 episodes of what? So it was 2020. It was during the first year of the pandemic, and I just sort of finished an MA in screenwriting, and I was a bit like, what am I doing with my life? I have no idea. And I don't know if you remember, but the government put out an advert saying that Fatima, who was a ballerina, should retrain in cyber. And it was basically this sort of attitude towards the creative arts, which is like, well, you can just retrain. It's not a real job. We'd all had that sort of attitude. I mean, when I was doing my degrees and trying very hard to get a job in the industry and the creative arts, people would always say that family would maybe subtly be like, are you going to get a real job? Or why are you bothering with this? And that's sort of where the energy for the podcast came from. It was from that. I have to give credit to my best friend Liam Rutherford, who actually came up with the title of the podcast. I was originally going to call it The Tortured Artist, and I'm very glad I didn't, because the name is brilliant, and I'm sad I can't take credit for the name, but that's sort of where the podcast came from. It was just this idea of, well, I want to interview, I've got so many friends in the industry, I want to interview all these like amazing young creatives who haven't quite made it yet. So it started off with just friends, and then from there it became a bit bigger, and I started interviewing people I didn't know, and it went on this crazy journey to where it is now. And it's basically, mostly me talking to emerging creatives, but also people that are established. We'd had bigger guests on as well, and we had an actor called Jamie Mackinlay who played Isa in Still Game, which is a massive sitcom in Scotland. So she's been on it. We'd had people like her on it. We'd had actors like Sarah Vickers and stuff on it as well. But we'd also had people like in my position who are very early on in their careers. So it's a very big mix, and it's just celebrating the arts, and sort of it's a bit of a middle finger to the people that say that the creative industry isn't a real job, and because it is, and it's valid.
You just literally proved it, didn't you? You literally proved it by doing that podcast. I mean, now they're doing these really aggravating ads where they say, have you got a plan A? Have you got a plan B? Oh, you need a plan C and D because of the pandemic. No, you don't. You just need a plan A, and then you need to be determined and like you, and just go for it. Step 100%. Into yourself and just go for it.
100%, but it isn't easy, and the thing I've learned the most. No, of course. But the thing I would say I've learned most from this podcast is everyone's path's different. We'd had people from all over the creative industries. As I say, we'd had somebody who works in circus. We'd had writers. We'd had actors. We'd had costume designers, artists, everyone. Singers, musicians. We'd had so many different roles on the podcast, and no one's path's the same. Some people go to university together, some people graft it themselves, some people are just don't realize what they're doing, and they end up falling into something they love, and no one's path's the same. And that is quite inspiring, actually, because it just shows you there's not a rule to follow. It's your own path's your own path. So yeah,
that's really encouraging, isn't it? Because it's like there's a pathway for everyone. This is not a competition.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. And that's something I've learned as well, is when I was growing up and I was younger and I was, wanting to work, because I work in TV, that's the sort of the part of the industry I work in. And that's quite a competitive part. I think the creative industries in general are quite competitive because there aren't those pathways and opportunities, unfortunately, still, especially in the UK. And I think there is a lot of sort of, you have to compete with other people to get there. But I think the best thing you can do is actually not do that. I think you should celebrate other people's success. It's something it's really benefited me. It's, you build a network and you work together and you encourage each other. It's not a competition. Everyone, as I say, some people get a job, and because of the freelance nature of the industry, they have a job and you don't, maybe for a bit, and you're like, oh my, you maybe feel a bit naturally jealous or whatever. But 3 months later, it could be the total opposite, and you have to support each other. So it's one of them. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what your podcast is, isn't it? It's supporting all those other people, and that actually really worked for you, because you went in and just like did that selflessly, like, this is a great idea, I'm just gonna, and it's something that I want to do, I'm gonna do it, and then you ended up getting a job in TV.
Yeah, although to be fair, that wasn't all from the podcast, but it certainly helped. I mean, confidence-wise, is like, it raises your confidence and inspires you every week, especially in lockdown when I wasn't working in the industry. Like, I was speaking to creative people every week, and that kept me going. And it does open a lot of doors, and it gives you so much energy. And I mean, just on a totally selfish point of view, you get to speak to cool people every week. I love it. You know what I mean? You get to meet people and make friends. So it's a good way of cheating and networking as well, I guess.
I totally agree. I started this, Pure Talks during pretty much the same thing, at the beginning of lockdown. And I've just had the time of my life. And then you get offered. So someone called me randomly today and said, oh, I've just watched a broadcast you did with this person. Would you consider doing this? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. I just say yes to everything now.
Yeah. No, but what you've done is amazing as well. I mean, I was watching some of the clips from earlier on before I came on as well, and you've done so many compared to me. I mean, there's hundreds on here, so
there is hundreds.
You've been really busy, so congratulations. Great to see.
Yeah, I think, as you say, it is just getting on with it. I'm not a techie, like the issue we just had then.
Yeah, I mean, neither am I, clearly. Do you know what I mean?
You're meant to be a digital native. You're much younger than me.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that as I shouted him out at the start, something else when you were asking about how the podcast started as well. I originally was like, "Oh, I'll just edit this myself." I mean, I had no idea clearly, but one of my best friends, Elliot Mitchell, is he's our editor obviously, but he's a sound engineer as well. He's an audio technician, and I was home in my hometown one day, and I'd just done the first episode at the time, and I was like telling him, "Could you show me how to edit? I'm going to do it myself," and he did it. And he kind of showed me, but then it's sort of one of those things where I was trying to learn, but he was just so good at it. I went, could you just do this? And he sort of, I'll do one episode, and now he does all of them, and he loves it as well. So it's a team effort. You know, it's not just me. We'd be nowhere without, you know, us both doing it. He does just as much work as I do in the edit, so I would be nowhere without him. So a massive shout out to him. I mean, it's amazing what he does. He makes it sound so good. So, and it's a pleasure to work with a friend like that as well. It's really nice.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Collaboration, playing to your strengths. You're clearly really good at talking to people and warming them up and getting the best out of them. And he's very good at the editing. I would say exactly the same. I would be nothing if I didn't have really interesting guests. So what would, you know, I'm nothing without the artists.
Well, I say that as well. Like, this isn't about me. This podcast is not. It's not really about me. It's about the guest. Like, I only speak for 20% of the episode, really. So it's all about the guest as well. Like, I'm just, I suppose, we're just the facilitators, really. But I mean, we're still important, I guess. I'm not trying to put us both down.
No, don't worry. I don't feel put down. I really enjoy that role of facilitator.
Yeah.
I really like to hold the space and let the guest talk and share their story and share their dreams and aspirations. That's something that's really important to me about what I do. It's not about me. And very often I will do this. I got to do it now. I've got to work it out because I haven't done this for a couple of weeks because we've been on holiday. There you go. I'll do that. So I'll actually literally hand the entire screen over, which is a bit daunting to begin with, but actually I'll hand the entire screen over to the artist or the guest. I won't do that to you, Jamie.
No, please come back.
I've come back. I'll do that because it is about the person on the screen. People get very bored if it was just me talking all the time. I tried it for about the first 3 episodes. I was like, okay, what should I talk about today? We'll talk about how mental health in the pandemic and how to. I did it for about. I was like, I'm even bored of listening to myself.
Yeah.
Let's find someone a bit more interesting to talk to. So but that's a learning curve, isn't it? And it's being brave and being prepared to just try and not being freaked out when I found this platform. And I don't know about you. How did you find the kit and decide what kit to use?
It's still, do you know what I mean? We've been learning, to be honest, you learn as you go, because I mean, if I listen back to the first 30 episodes even of the podcast, which is probably half of the back catalogue, there's still great conversations, but I don't think I'm as good a host or an interviewer. I don't think it sounds as good. You just learn things about it as you go. I mean, I just sort of bought a microphone. I do what Elliot tells me in regards to technology. He says, buy this mic, it's the best, you can afford that one, but he sends me it all.
Is it one of these?
Yeah, I was meant to be on my mic, but because obviously I'm having to do this on my phone, I'm not as kitted up tonight as I usually am. So I've not got all my gear with me, but we'll make do, I guess. But you know what I mean? You sort of learn as you go. It's like things like using social media to promote the podcast is a massive part of it as well. And you learn how to do that. You learn what works on Instagram, what doesn't work, things like that. You learn how your intros work, if they should be long or, so when I first started, I used to do poems at the start. No one really needs to hear that. It's about the guest. So we stopped that quite quickly, but, it was fun at the time, but, you sort of learn as you go. Yeah. You just sort of, things change, and you also, technology changes, like Instagram updates all the time. So you have to learn how to beat the new algorithm. It's annoying, but it's just little things like that.
I love that. I love that. Doing poems now. No one is interested, are they? They've got about a tolerance level of about 25 minutes
exactly.
for this kind of stuff, and they want to listen and they want to learn really quickly what it is that you've got to share. And then the personal stories, I think, is a really good one.
100%.
Yeah. Sharing the personal stories people really like. So you're not very old.
No.
You're significantly younger than me, which is why you're much better at the tech than me. But, I just chose a platform that I thought I could, learn, and I'm much better at it now, much more dexterous at it now. What would you tell your slightly younger self?
You know what? It's really, I was saying to you before, but it's really weird being on the other side of this, actually, because you know that you usually have no one asking the questions. I don't have to answer the hard ones. But sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
What would you tell your slightly younger self?
What was that about the podcast? If to go back about a year and 3 months, you know, I don't actually think I genuinely don't think I'd tell myself anything. I genuinely think because it wouldn't have worked out the way it has. You know what I mean? I'm quite a nostalgic person. I look back a little bit. I'm starting to learn that there's no point in it's happened the way it's happened, and I think it's worked brilliantly. I'd maybe tell myself, don't look at the numbers as much. It doesn't really matter. If you know, because some weeks you get maybe like we're not a huge we've got a nice audience. You know, some weeks you get more listeners than.
Oh, I reckon someone called Jamie on his phone. That happens when you're on a mobile phone doing this. I think Jamie would say to his younger self, check the tech earlier. Oh no, he's gone and I'm on my own. Hopefully he'll be back in a minute. See, what I've learned from doing this is you have to be really resilient, and you just have to be like, what is happening is what's meant to happen. And that's how life turns out. And trust the universe. I was meant to experience this today. So what am I meant to learn? And I have those conversations quite frequently with my clients when they say, well, I did this and it didn't quite turn out how I expected it. And I say, yeah, but what did you learn and what more can you benefit from that? And so I'm learning quite a lot from listening to Jamie and going through this experience with him where obviously his tech is simply not working. And I think what we might have to do is redo this broadcast a second time with Jamie and re-record it, because clearly his tech is giving him trouble. And I think he's coming back, but I'm not absolutely sure. And as I say, when people are on a phone, often it's because someone rings them and then their phone cuts off. I had that with Mary Clark when I was interviewing Mary Clark from her studio in Burwash. So it might be that I have to re-record this one with Jamie separately, but we'll see. I'll give him another couple of seconds. He might be messaging me. So yeah, it's always interesting when you're doing live. I'm getting the experience of what it is like to do live TV. And if someone kind of walked off the set, did a Piers Morgan and walked away. He is back, and we'll see if he arrives back on the screen, because I do have some more questions I would really like to ask Jamie about podcasting, about some of the special moments with guests and what he might have learned from those. So we'll see. We'll give him a couple more minutes to see if he comes back, and if he doesn't, then we will. Oh, he's there. He's back.
Sorry, what's going on? I was just talking and it just disappeared. I would say to myself to check the technology and don't let this happen. That's what I'd say to myself.
I was just chatting to people, and I was saying, I think it's like being on live TV when Piers Morgan walked off.
Yeah. Do you know this is actually not the first time that's happened to me? It only happened to me twice, and it both been live things. I was hosting a live Q&A for the podcast once, and my Wi-Fi broke in the middle of this thing. I just went off for 2 minutes, and I was the host. And do you know what I mean? You just got to stay calm. So I totally wasn't stressing out when my camera went off there. Do you know what I mean? Totally not. No, I was
very completely calm.
No, I really wasn't. I wish I was.
I was
anyway,
saying,
we're back.
I was saying while you were gone that the great thing about this is that it is live. It's live TV, and you have to be able to think on your feet. It doesn't faze me anymore. But 2.5 years ago, I would have been completely freaked out if that had happened. I would have been like, well, is he coming back?
Yeah.
We've had that where I remember I was doing a broadcast with Nadine Searle, and about 15 minutes in, everyone was commenting in the sidebar, we can't see you. And we were like, well, we can see each other. So what's the problem? And so afterwards we realized there was an outage in America somewhere that had cut off the whole screen for everybody else, but we were, we could see each other. So yeah, we just had to re-record. And that's the thing.
Yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't go off again. But well, I'm definitely not running away. I was really enjoying our conversation.
He ran off. Really, he just needed he just needed more hot water in his tea. That was what it was. So tell me, because this is, I was just giving you some anecdotes of some of the conversations that I've had. What, I don't want you to name names, but what are your kind of favorite types of conversations?
No, well, so we did a special for the 50th episode where we sort of looked back on the first 50, and one of my listeners asked, what is your favorite guest? And it's like, when I mean, I'm not old enough to obviously have had kids or anything like that, but my mom, my mama would always say, I can't pick a favorite of you and your brothers.
Yeah.
I get that. I kind of get that now. I get that now. Because you're always like, that's not true, but it is true with this. But there's obviously episodes which some sort of maybe jump out or that have an impact on you in a different way. And one of the episodes which I think was the most emotional I've been recording the podcast was a guy called Christopher Lee Power. And I'm happy to name him because it's a great episode. I think that was episode 29 of the podcast. And he's just had an incredible life to become an actor, so what he'd had to go through. And it was quite remarkable because we don't record the podcast live and it's all audio, but he was sort of crying a bit. And it actually moved me as well. So we were kind of both crying for a brief moment, but in a kind of beautiful way where, that's genuine connection. And that, I thought that was beautiful. And to have that over audio, it meant a lot. It was very moving, very moving. Yeah.
I've definitely had that experience where I've been talking to someone and I can feel the energy across the screen, and you're like, yeah, this is really working. I'm really, in the rhythm of it. Definitely. I agree. I do have children. And they often say to me, I often get cards from them saying, it's from your favorite. I'm your favorite child. And I'm like, no, I don't have favorites. You're all my favorites. I love you all equally. But there are moments, aren't there?
Yeah.
It's not about favorites. There's just moments.
Oh, so many amazing moments. Yeah. To be honest, there's been pretty much every conversation we'd had it always amazes me when I listen back for the edit stuff. I'm always just like, wow, I can't believe the quality of this conversation. People are so interested and they have such great stories, and it's incredible. It's honestly, it's a great feeling. I always feel very energized after doing it. And most of it's mine. I mean, you'll be the same. It's all online. It's not hardly anyone have been in real life. And it is, it still gives you a lot of energy on, doing it over Zoom, which is incredible, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I have met Graham Cullis in real life. He did try and get me to go swimming in the North Sea, which is never going to happen.
Yeah.
Ever. But we went to Glyndebourne and it was great. It was great to meet someone that you just had a connection with over the screen in person. That was really rewarding. And now, as we kind of go into this, as I say, the third year of the talks, I still plan to do the talks like this, but we're also planning a few which will be live.
That's amazing. Yeah,
doing the interviews and having it filmed. I have done a couple. So I did a couple before Christmas, one with Fran White and one with who is listening, and one with Edith Barton. And like you said, I appreciated when I was doing those how much I've learned. Yeah,
honestly, it just you learn so much doing it. I mean, we'd done a few in real life. We did a birthday special where I was interviewed on the podcast, and that was actually quite amazing because Rebecca Riddle, who I had on the podcast, like one of the episode 10 or something, going way back. She's again someone I met for doing this, and we became friends. And she has a podcast called Choose Film as well, which I'll give a plug to, which I've been on. Is a really good podcast that she's involved in. And we became friends, and we met in real life. And she came to my garden because at the time we were in lockdown, so we had to record outside because we weren't allowed to do it inside. So we recorded it socially distanced in the garden, and that was amazing. And then we did our first ever live podcast in front of an audience, which was incredible for the Scottish Youth Film Foundation. And it was all like sort of 11, 12-year-old kids in the audience, which is quite scary, actually. You see something quite scary about it being kids. and that was quite nervous. I was nervous to do it, but it was an amazing experience. And one of the 10-year-old kids at the end asked the question, and it was one of the proudest moments of me doing the podcast, just seeing this young person. This podcast is kind of, it was to inspire younger creatives in particular, and I was just standing there like that. This is surreal. And it was amazing to see that. So that was that was probably one of my proudest moments doing the podcast, for sure.
What question did they ask you? Do you remember?
It wasn't me she was asking the question to. It was to our guests, Sarah Vickers and Andy Rodney, who are both quite well-known Scottish actors. But she just asked them. I can't even remember really, because it was such an out-of-body experience that I don't even remember a question. I was just thinking, wow, this is a real life. This is surreal. But bless her, she was great.
So do you remember any particular questions that guests have asked or you have asked that you think that was a moment?
Well, one of my favorite questions on the I love asking people what their worst part-time job is. That's like, we always say that. What's the worst part-time job you'd ever worked, or the quote real job you'd ever worked? Because that inspires people because we don't have to work these horrible jobs we don't like to support our art, and everyone does it. And I love that question because people hear it and they go, okay, I feel better now. They'd had to work that job too. But I think one of the best answers to that question was a guy called Connor Burke. And he'd basically talked about he'd quit a call center and just walked out, and I was just in stitches. That was a really fun episode to record. He's a podcaster as well, so the chemistry was just, it was just crazy, but it was a great one to do.
What was your job then?
What was the worst job I've had? See, this is again weird because it's like I'm always asking this. I've actually been quite fortunate, really. I've had a few jobs. The worst job I probably ever had was I worked in a horrible Chinese restaurant or Chinese takeaway on the phones. I only lasted about 2 months. It is a summer job. I got sacked before my last shift, which I don't think was because I was bad at the job. It was sort of a misunderstanding. But I found the job so stressful and the people employing me so horrible that I just phoned in sick on my last shift because I don't bother coming back. I was like, well, I wasn't going to be coming back because it's my last shift. But apart from that, I've been very lucky. I was a support worker for about 4.5 years. I worked with disabled adults when I was at uni, and sort of between that and getting the job I'm in now. And although that was a stressful job, and wasn't always the funnest, and I was very glad to sort of leave when I did. I got a lot out of it, and it was a very inspiring job working with disabled adults. It changes your perspective on life. So I would never slag that job off because I'm very grateful to it. And it's an important job, and I have so much credit to the people working in that job. Carers on the front line right now in the pandemic, they're the real heroes. You know what I mean? So massive shout out to all the people doing that in the health service as well.
Yeah, working with anyone, children or adults with disabilities, is challenging. So, what do you think you learned from that experience that you've brought on with you?
So much. I mean, you appreciate what you got in your own life. I mean, we all have bad days, and I'm not saying life's perfect, and you're allowed to have a day where you think it's hard. I mean, I have days where I'm not, maybe not happy, and that's okay. But it does put into perspective when you see some of the things that these people have to go through on a daily basis and what they'd suffered and stuff. It really makes you have an appreciation for life, and I just think it makes you laugh as well. Some of the laughs I've had with these people, like some disabled, they come out with some of the sweetest and funniest things that we maybe wouldn't think of normally. Do you know what I mean? Like they see the world in a different way, some of these people as well. And I love that. I love seeing that, I'm, working in TV development. It's all about telling stories really and finding good stories. And these people have amazing stories. So yeah, it's really inspiring. And I do miss some of the guys I worked with, and I'll hopefully, see them again in the future and stay in touch because, they see the world in such an incredible way.
Yeah, it makes you grateful, doesn't it? Makes you grateful. And also it gives a bit of reality to the fact that we all live these like bubble, we're in our bubble, aren't we? Living our own unique lived experience. And we see people with disabilities and think, oh dear. But actually, I've worked and been with people with disabilities and they're having a great time. They're living their best life. They're really having, really, really cool experience. And that, that's really inspiring.
It really is. And this is also, I mean, it's also something that's come up on the podcast a lot. I mean, I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic, which is it's classed as disability to some, and it's a neurodivergent, I guess now is the official term for it. But that's not always easy. like I've never hidden behind it, and I would try to talk about it. I've had so many guests that are similar. You know, my editor Elliot, he won't mind me saying, but he's got Asperger's as well. Like, you know, so you know, that's something again we always try to talk about on the podcast is mental health and, you know, what people have overcome. And, you know, it doesn't stop you. I mean, I remember as a child being told by teachers, like, you're never going to get any, you know, qualifications. And, you know what I mean? Now I'm working and I'm like, well, look, you know, it's almost like proving it to yourself. You're like, you know, look what I've ended up doing. It's incredible. And it does make you really appreciative of all the support you'd had. Yeah.
Yeah, it's their confidence, isn't it? So underpinning all of that is having the confidence to just be brave enough to try.
Yeah.
And that's what those experiences give us, is the, you know, I know I've had moments where I think, for goodness sake, you know, I can't possibly do that. But actually looking back now, I think you just get on. I just get on with it. Just get on with it now. And I say that in a quite a blasé way, and I don't mean it that way, because confidence is something that you grow. And I've had it's not always with you. It's not a continuum. It's not a continuum, is it? Confidence. You could be, I'm now confident at doing this. Yeah. If you ask me to climb a climbing wall, I'm not going to be confident. So it's not a continuum. You know, it doesn't mean because you're confident in one thing, you're going to be confident in another. But you can take the resources that you've learned in one thing
100%.
that you're confident in.
Yeah, 100%. No, I've never been the most confident person. I still am it now. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people maybe that don't know me from the podcast particularly will think, oh, Jamie must be a really confident guy. He does the podcast, he chats to new people all the time. And, you know, I'm not really at all. I'm kind of winging it a wee bit, if I'm perfectly honest. Like I'm getting better at it, and I have a lot more self-belief than I used to have. But I mean, I think my mum's probably watched or listened to this, probably on catch up as well. She'll be saying like, believe in yourself, son, and all that, because she's always said that. But you know, I've always been so hard on myself, and it's a learned behavior as well. You grow up, you get a narrative of doing it, but I think I have gotten a lot better at not doing that and backing myself a bit more. And as I say, the podcast has done wonders for that. But we are all, I mean, I don't know about you, Leslie, but I often feel like a bit of an imposter, especially working in the industry I'm in. I'm like, how am I here? I grew up I come from a working class town. Like, I don't know, people like me don't belong here. Like, and you start to pinch yourself, but then you catch yourself and you go, no, you do belong here. You'd earned this. Like, you know, you'd worked hard and believe in yourself. Yeah, it's hard. And I'm sure a lot of people watching and listening will feel the same in whatever they do, that you do have moments like that where you're like, I feel like a bit of an imposter. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, not good enough. I'm not. Why should anyone be wanting to listen to me? But actually, as we said just now, you know, there's no competition. We're all equal. We've all got the equal right to be in the space that we create for ourselves. And if you're brave enough to create that space, then you're good enough to be there.
100%. And also, I think, you know, sometimes we're too hard on ourselves as well. Like, and we put people on pedestals. Like, we're all, at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all equal to each other. No one's better than other people. Just, you know, we all have strengths and weaknesses as well. Like, do you know what I mean? I can't edit my podcast like Ellie can. And, you know, he maybe couldn't host the podcast. Like, it doesn't mean, you know, one of us is better than the other. It's just different. Everyone has different skills. And as I say at the start, different paths as well. No one's path's right. Yeah,
I was just about to bring you back to that. Absolutely. I think that brings it kind of full circle, doesn't it? That there's no one's better. We're all just our own individual selves. No one has more of a right than anyone else. It just means that we've all just got our own pathways. We just make our own reality. And some days we have a good day and some days we'll have a bad day, as you say. You know, we've had a bit of a challenge today with tech, but we haven't let it kind of get us down. We've just gone, I've just like, actually, I think that's really important learning that we saw and experienced as part of that tech issue. That it's really, you've got a really interesting story to tell. You know, you've just kept on going. Just keep turning up.
Yeah, no, and that's not, but that isn't always easy at all. And like, you know, I've had days before, like before I got the job I'm in now, I was like having days where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I? Do you know what I mean? How did I need to keep applying? And you sort of like eventually you get your opportunity comes along and you grab it with both hands very gratefully. And you've got to just keep trying. It's you know, and it's hard at the moment for people, especially, you know, still being in a pandemic, and you know, it's not as easy as it maybe, you know, it is a tough time for people out there, especially in the arts. I know a lot of people are having to change careers and do other things to keep themselves going, but you do have to just keep turning up. And it is a cliche, but it's true. It's true. You've got to just keep showing up and trying, and it will eventually happen.
I've got this phrase where I always say, just go for the no. Just go for the no. Don't wait till it's the perfect job. Don't
Yeah.
wait till it's the perfect opportunity. Don't wait till you think you're perfect. Don't wait till you think all the stars have aligned. Just go for it. Just go for it. And don't be worried if it's a no. That wasn't for you. That was for someone else. You've got to leave some of these opportunities for other people. I say that to my kids when they say, I'm not very good at science. I say, it's okay. That's for someone else. You can't be good at everything. Leave science for someone else to be good at. You be good at history or geography or whatever it is that you're good at. We can't all be good at everything. Leave some space for someone else over there. And that's exactly the same in the creative industries. There is space enough. There's enough time. There's enough space. There's enough out there for everyone, because everyone's pathway is unique. And you absolutely 100% prove that point, that you just decided that was for you, you tried it, and you're just nailing it every time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I love that little analogy you said as well. Leave the note. It's great. You were asking earlier about I've just remembered as well, because when you're on the spot, you forget loads of stuff, especially if I had so many guests on. But you're asking about a question that's had an impact, and that's just sort of reminded me there. We had some great advice. We get great advice on the podcast every week, actually, to be amazing advice from everyone. But we had James Capel, who runs an amazing thing called Scribe Lounge, which is an amazing community for screenwriters. And he shared something one of his screenwriters had told him on the podcast, and it was go for 100 rejections. So it's like they're trying to fill a jar of rejections. And I love this analogy. So this girl that is at Scribe Lounge with him, that he works with there, she told him that she goes for 100 rejections, and it's basically just wants to fill this jar full of rejections. And she obviously will get a yes, because if you try and get 100 rejections, you're not going to get, most likely at least one of those people are going to say yes to you. And I think that's such a positive spin on it. And I love that, turning such a negative thing like that into a positive, because rejection's necessary and failure is necessary as well. And we don't talk about that enough as a society, but it's so important.
I actually look to push for failure, because that's where I learn stuff. I learn so much more when things don't go according to plan than I do when things go, well, I'm just living in the known, aren't I? I'm just living in what I know when everything goes according to my plan. When things don't, when I go out of the known, then I risk it not working. But I also give myself this massive opportunity to learn something amazing. And that's why I love asking, lots of different guests. That's why when I heard your podcast, I was like, I definitely want Jamie, because I don't know anything about podcasting. I do broadcasting, which is a kind of similar thing.
Yeah. Similar.
Yeah. But you're taking a different stance on it, and you're choosing different types of guests. I do definitely go for either people who can talk about business, or who can talk about, so the artist can learn how to run a business and make money for themselves, or people who are already artists who can inspire other artists. There's definitely, a theme to the kind of talks that I do. But you're completely different. You had an idea and you just went with it. And now, how do you decide? Do you kind of sit there and think, for the next 3 months, these are the kind of guests I would like, or do you just wait for them to come?
It's actually it's a bit messy the way I do it, and I'm sort of trying to be a bit more organised. So, as I said, I started off with friends and stuff, and then because I didn't ever expect it to get past 10 episodes in my head, I thought, we'll just do this thing. It's not going to be, no one's going to listen to it. We'll get 3 listens from my mum and maybe a few friends. And then when people did listen to it, I was like, okay, this might be a thing. So as I say, started off with friends, and maybe I'd say the majority of the first 30 episodes are with friends and stuff, and then since then I've started approaching people. But it's a mix. We get a lot. The internet's an amazing thing, and we get amazing people getting in touch all the time and coming on the podcast, and people email me from agencies that want to promote maybe somebody's show or something. They'll get in touch, and they have great guests as well. To be honest, the first maybe 40, 50 episodes, a lot of the time it wasn't even me seeking out a guest. It was someone else coming and getting in touch with me, which was great. But I'm trying to be a bit more better. I'm not very good at saying no to people, and I don't like saying no to people. So I will normally say yes to everyone, which is actually a mistake, because you end up overcommitting yourself and you let people down. So something I've got a lot better doing now is saying, listen, I would love to have you on, but we've got a lot of guests at the moment, but I'll get in touch with you in a few months and we'll see if we can sort it out. And I'm trying to sort of allow myself more time to really look at the guests I would like to have on as well, which I have been doing. But as I say, no, we've not had any bad guests. Everyone's been amazing. So sometimes it's the best when a random person gets in touch on Instagram and you just take a chance and it ends up being an amazing story. So yeah, it really just depends. I'm
You
not
need to
fussy.
say no, because remember that people are trying to fill their no jars up now, because there's the woman at the lounge and there's me going, go for the no.
Yeah,
All
that,
over the place. They've got these jars of no's they have to fill up. So help them out.
that's very true. And you don't have to say, the thing is, I've learned as well, you don't have to say no in a nasty way. Sometimes you can just say, listen, at the moment, we don't have enough time to record an episode. I'll get in touch with you in the future or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be I'm a massive people pleaser as well. That's a bit something I need to work on as a
You do.
person. I'm not, I would say it's not a natural thing for me to say no to things. So it is but I think as a creative person and as a podcaster or whatever sort of thing you're doing in the industry, I think sometimes you do maybe need to learn to say no, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm much better, as you say now, I'm much better at being, I know what I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeking out actively to make sure I'm getting the kind of, but as you say, at the beginning, I was just like asking my friends, really. And I have not, like you know, none of them are bad. They're absolutely brilliant. I had an absolute whale of a time. But as you get more into it, you get a bit more strategic, I suppose.
Yeah.
You learn. You're learning a bit better how to do it. So you said at the beginning that you do a lot of promotion on Instagram and everything. And obviously creatives love Instagram. So what's your top tips for Instagram promotion?
To be honest, right, I'm winging it, and there's so many amazing people on Instagram who are so good at what they do. I had a guest called Alice on recently, Alice Johnson. She was on quite a few months ago. Literally, I think it was about 3 or 4 episodes ago. She's amazing, right? She's so good at Instagram. She was giving me tips and stuff, things I could have been doing for years. So honestly, I don't know. I think with Instagram, they change the algorithm all the time. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. You know, we have like over 1,000 followers, and yesterday we got 10 likes for our post because the algorithm. Do you know what I mean? Because no one's seeing the posts anymore. So I honestly don't know what my advice would be. I think you just have to keep up with the trends, and you know, yeah.
And if they're your audience, I always say, I actually think engagement is as important as posting, is what I found. And we're getting a lot more reach when we do a lot more engagement. So you don't need to be posting so much and creating content all the time. It's more about who you're engaging with separately. And then Instagram seems to show your post to more people.
Yeah, I do find that I agree with you. I do find that if you maybe do a poll or something on your story, or like ask us a question or things like that, it rewards you, which is, I think, is frustrating because but it's just the way that social media is set up at the moment, and unfortunately I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, but you've got to just keep adapting and finding things that work.
Reels. Have you tried using Reels?
Yeah, that's something I was about to say, Alice sort of turned us on to Reels, and they'd be quite a very helpful tool. So they're good fun.
Yeah, and have you got a YouTube channel as well?
See, we do have a YouTube account, but I don't do video for the podcast at the moment, which is something I'd love to do, but Elliot doesn't edit video, and I don't have time at the moment it's an extra facet to it, and I'd rather just get the amazing conversations and be able to keep doing it to high quality every week than to attempt to do videos and then overwork myself in it to suffer for that. So maybe one day we'll do videos like this, but for now it's just mostly the audio clips.
Yeah, we don't actually edit our videos. It is what it is. So unfortunately, everyone's always going to know. But actually, that was part of the learning. So I'm absolutely cool with that. So everyone's,
everyone's going to see me disappear in the middle of this.
They're going to see you disappear and come back. It's fine. It's it's all part of the learning curve, and to show that it's okay. Things don't always go according to plan. As I say, it's okay. It's absolutely fine. No one's hurt by that. No. It's, and people hung around and waited, but
I'm very grateful to them. Thank you very much, everyone.
A lot more people will watch this on catch up anyway, because we do put our stuff onto YouTube. The only bit of editing we do is we put a top and a tail on, so people will have an intro slightly to see what's coming, and they'll then have all the contact stuff on the end, so people can find you, for instance, if it's your broadcast that they're watching. So we do that, but that's we've only been doing that for about 3 months or so, and we did them on Canva. I don't know whether you use Canva, but we did them on Canva, and the first, and we edited it and put the front bit on with a bit of music and everything. And then YouTube went, no, you can't do that. We're not going to allow it. We're like, you have to be kidding. We just spent all the time making these lovely things on Canva. And they're like, no, you have to put a different piece of music on every single one. You're like, you got to be joking.
I
Really?
actually use Canva as well. It's a great app. We use it to design our just our promo for the episodes. It's a great little tool. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I love Canva, and I love it the fact that you can go in and design something and then it's there for life, and then you can go in and like edit it and copy it and all of that. You haven't got to go back in and, you know, not like I used to use InDesign. For years I used InDesign, and it was so cumbersome, and you're dragging things, and Canva is a dream. It's a dream to those who aren't graphic designer trained. We do have a wonderful graphic designer. I will shout her out, Christina, who is brilliant and does all our graphic design. But yeah, we both found it very frustrating around the music thing and YouTube. So anyone who is thinking of putting music on their videos and uploading them to YouTube, be super careful, because copyright claim thing on YouTube is very stringent. I think that's the right word, stringent.
Yeah.
I'm being generous with that. So just to sum up, what's the future for the podcast? What is your aspirations? Where do you see it going?
Oh, you know, I'm quite bad at, I'm really bad at answering I'm getting tongue twisted, answering these questions sometimes. Like the future, I used to be such a worrier, and I'd always think about the future loads and panic and think what's going to happen. But I'm starting to get better at taking things a little bit, shorter steps at a time. But I love doing the podcast. I hope we can just keep making more amazing conversations and keep going. I mean, we'd recorded 60 episodes are out. I think we'd recorded about 70. So we'd already recorded 7 other amazing conversations ahead of time, which I cannot wait for people to hear. There's been some brilliant guests on recently. I just want to keep growing it and keep putting out more amazing conversations and see what we can achieve. I'd like to do another live special at Edinburgh Fringe when it comes as well, if we can. I'd like to maybe do a few in front of an audience and things. So that's been a big dream. And we'll just see what happens. Yeah, I guess it's an exciting road to be on.
I think that's really good, and really good advice as well. It's like you can get yourself in overwhelm really quickly. Planning is important. Yeah. And it's important to have a plan and to know kind of where you're going, but not to overwhelm yourself. You can relax, you can enjoy it, because this is it. It's the journey, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's some of the best advice we've ever had in the podcast is from a lot of guests. And I've learned the most as well, is just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. It's actually not putting the podcast out, which is the best part, which I used to think it was. It's the record, it's us chatting now. Do you know what I mean? That's the best part of it. It's doing the actual interview, which is the best part. It's not really about people hearing it as much as that's great. It's the doing it that means the most. It's the journey.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I can't lie. I really enjoy it. And I really enjoy meeting all these, different people and seeing how those conversations evolve. And yeah, as I say, I've got a bit of a plan, and a bit like you, I want to do some live stuff as well and, mix it up a bit. But it is just such a privilege.
It's a real privilege. That's the best word to use. I say that all the time. I've said that in our New Year message. It's an absolute privilege getting to get a real job and doing things like this, getting to come on and speak to you is honestly a real privilege.
Yeah. And that the fact that people have taken their time to actually listen and to listen to what you're talking about and give us their time. It's precious, isn't it? Time's precious.
It really is. It really is. It amazes me. See, when people just clicking on my podcast or people watching this, you're so grateful to them. Like, it means a lot. It means the world. And especially when people get in touch to say, I listened to this and it was really inspiring, or well done. That genuinely makes my week when I get things like that come through. Honestly, I don't know if people always realize that. That will make my day. That I won't like that. I'll be like on cloud 9 after that. So it's always an amazing feeling.
Yeah, me too. When people say, it was inspirational, or I learned something, then my work here is done. I spent that hour and I really enjoyed it, and I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed talking to you and listening to you. You just epitomize that thing about, be vulnerable, be brave, just go for it, keep turning up. It's okay. There's no right or wrong way, and go for the no. grow some resilience.
Well, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Yeah,
And
no, thank you.
I think when you've done another like 100 episodes, maybe we need to have a revisit.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come back on, and we'll have to get you on, just get a real job or something.
Yeah,
Well, Leslie.
yeah, I really, really enjoy it.
Could I just
Really
actually
good.
quickly say before I go, because I feel like I should really plug the show for my lovely colleagues, but I work with STV Drama at the moment, and we had a show come out about 2 weeks ago on Channel 4 called Screw. It's a prison drama. It's on 9 p.m. every Thursday, and it's all on All 4. So my colleagues have done an amazing job on it. So please go and watch that. It's great stuff.
All 4.
All 4. It's all on catch up now. The whole series is out, or Channel 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very good at TV. Isn't that bizarre? I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do love a good crime drama or
Yeah.
something that's got like a really good story, something
Well,
quite sinister.
Well, watch Screw, Leslie. Honestly, it's a prison drama. It's really, really moving.
Love a good drama. I'm
Yeah.
not good at anything light and fluffy. I could
Well, you
never
like Screw.
I could never settle with Enid Blyton when I was a child. I can't do anything that's light. It has to have a bit of a sinister edge to it. So yeah, definitely I'll go and have a look at that. Thank you so much, Jamie. So thank you everyone for watching. Anyone who's watching us on catch up, hopefully you found that inspirational and useful, and you can pick out some things there that you can use to get yourself where you aspire to be. Next week, we're doing a workshop on attracting abundance. So hopefully see lots of you there as well. That one's on Zoom. That's not on Crowdcast. And then I think in February, I've got Lucy Payne coming back to talk to us about people. So that's exciting. And how to grow your business, Jamie. You need to have a listen to that one.
Yeah, I will do.
How to grow your business by working with other people and employing and outsourcing and, growing in that way. Because we can't grow if we just stay. Like you said, you'd never be able to do all of those jobs on your own. So there's loads of people behind us.
Yeah, 100%. And on that note as well, just a quick shout out to Amy Dinsdale, who does the artwork for our podcast as well. I better mention her when I'm on this. That would be rude not.
That was a very risky moment.
Thank you so much for having me on, Leslie. It's been
You're more than welcome. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And I will be back in touch. We'll have to do a regroup in about a year and see how you're getting
100%. I can't wait to see who we'd both grow into by then.
Yeah, be really interesting. All right, you take care. Thanks very much.
Take care. Have a lovely night.